one of my lovely guests, in fact, a couple of people, suggested that I try and help you to understand your supermarket flowers and to make those pretty and pretty easily. So that's going to be my next job. The first step is to know what day the deliveries are. And in Northwich, it's Thursday. It's the best day. So sometimes my friends will, because I don't have a shop, they'll say, oh, I would like some flowers for a birthday. And I'll say, if you give me a budget of £30, I will go to Tesco, Lidl, Sainsbury's, Aldi. We've got them all in Northwich. And I'll choose the flowers and put them together and then wrap them nicely for you. So I'm just going to kind of whiz you through my top tips. So what you'll notice about these that I've chosen, is they're all the same colour. That's the first important thing to remember. I think, in fact, in the bad old days of floristry, you used to do something called a harlequin bouquet, which was a way of trying to persuade people that they could have anything that was left over in the shop, because it was all different colours. So Alstroemeria lasts brilliantly. These cabbages are great fun. They're really in at the moment. So these are £5 from Sainsbury's, I think. It's well worth using your flower food. I'm a big believer in flower food. These flowers were actually made on Friday, but the flowers came in, they were conditioned with flower food. We soaked the oasis with flower food and we watered them with flower food. Flower food works by giving the plants some of the nutrients that they would have from their roots. But also within a vase environment, it kills off the algae, and the algae is what makes your flowers go over prematurely. Because it blocks the phloem and xylem, which are the transport vessels, like your veins. So a single cell of algae will block it. These, £2 from Lidl. We can't buy them that cheap in wholesaler. So that's including VAT. Yes, of course. This is almost exactly lemonade. So lemonade is sugar and citric acid. And the acid is what changes the pH of the water, and by changing the pH it's inhospitable to algae. I actually tend to use a drop of bleach, which is very, very alkaline, and it keeps the vases spotless. So what we would tend to do in the shop on a Saturday is start bleaching the buckets about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we always put a bit of bleach in. They've even found out that the old wives' tales of copper coins actually work because they create electrodes, which is then inhospitable. Aspirin, again, it's just changing the pH. There's so many different versions of the same thing, but that is what they are. And they do tend to work. So bleach is my favourite. So, what can we do with all these flowers? Right, so I've chosen all one colour. I haven't chosen... It's hard because chrysanthemums are coming back into fashion, and I do try, and then I get there and I'm like, I can't buy them, so I haven't bought any. Alstroemeria is growing on me. It's a brilliant flower, it lasts forever, but I think as a child when I opened my shop at 24, I was such a flower snob. You wouldn't have got me near an Alstroemeria, but I have grown up a bit since then. I do understand their worth. So, these simple things to do with your flowers. What I have got, and they don't sell at the moment in the supermarkets, might have to tell them, is bear grass. And I just use this in everything. All florists have it. That's 2 bunches there. It's about £3 a bunch. And I tend to put it in everything. And it lasts forever. So one of the things that we can do is, but this is just making it so easy. These are bean tins that have been through my dishwasher. And then I'm just going to make a mess. Put some Oasis in. just like making pastry.
That's really well soaked oasis.
Yeah, with flower food. There is actually a little bit that's not. So that's pretty simple, isn't it? So in some ways I wish I had practiced a bit more, but there we go. So these cabbages, I'm putting in at an angle and I'm putting them in so they're really low. In floristry you tend to work in odd numbers just because it looks nice. There's more scientific reasons than that, but that's the one I'm giving today. So I'm going to put 3 cabbages in. Now the lilies are spare, but I've got a plan for those. Can be quite brutal. Pull the leaves off. We recently did a wedding up the road at Trafford Hall, which is one of the first carbon neutral wedding venues. And Ellie actually got her own bean tins and we covered them with old farrow and ball tester pots in the most beautiful colours, and each table had a different theme as if it was grown from the garden. And we also had a block of cedar on the bottom, and we had the most amazing flowers because I had quite a big budget, and so I always go mad. So some were yellows and blues on one table, some were purples and pinks, and the room looked amazing. And she had her wedding outside under an arch made of willow. So 10 to, only got one of those. 1, 2. So it's frustrating that they don't give you the right numbers of things. Oh no! I could go on all day. Right, so I have got another one down there, but if you imagine you've got 3, I actually think they look pretty cool on their own. Yes. On my less is more, which I'm always telling Phil. And then we've got ribbon, Merry Christmas ribbon, which I would tie round. So if you imagine those 3 are finished, which they will be later, everything's going to be raffled off. So you've got 3 again. I'm going to have to be very, very quick, I can see. So for these 3, I'll just do 1. I'm going to hurt myself quite badly. You strip your roses. Well, no, yes, I can. Yes, I think one of the oldest is to cut them on an angle, and I tend to cut them on an angle. And also, you look for where the next leaf is, and you cut just ahead of the leaf. So that's going to give the phloem and xylem the maximum chance to take up water. And I also think if you cut them straight, then they're going to sit flat on the bottom, so the water doesn't go up. Bashing the stems, personally, I think is a bad idea, unless they're very woody. These are more supermarket flowers. These are quite woody, So you could bash them, which will help the water go up. But I use scissors.
Boiling water idea.
Well, there is the boiling water idea does work, but it works with certain things. So I would tend to cut those at an angle. If these were forsythia, for example, but they hadn't quite come out into bloom, and you pick them, you can put them into boiling water, and that will force the flowers to open. So that's where that idea comes from. If your rose has lost I will squeeze your roses when you go in the supermarket. If it's firm, it's okay. If it's soft, it's not okay. So your roses tend to droop, don't they?
Yes.
Is that rude? I don't know. Anyway, if you're dealing with that problem, what you do is you chop the end off and stick it in boiling water. And that forces the water back up to the top, and it will stand up straight again for you. So chop the end off into about 2 centimetres of boiling water. The rose head will come back up. It won't last as long as if it hadn't drooped, but it will still last very well. And then the next time, cut the stem 2 days later and put them into deep, fresh water. I would always change the water of my flowers every other day, and recut the stems, clean the vases, add your flower food. So I'm aware that I could talk all day, and I didn't actually plan the timing. So I'm going to start. This is one of the most important things, and it is quite hard to get the hang of, because I've got some girls who help me, who I've been teaching, and I think they'll confirm that it is actually quite hard. So with your roses, from the supermarket, you need to take the leaves off and start a spiral. So I'm not quite sure where all the videos and things are. So to do a spiral, it's just exactly like how you would imagine an American wigwam. So you're going to put everything in. I put it in with my right hand on a left slant, and then I do one twist. And I do exactly the same again. The grass is helping because it helps keep the stems in the right place, because the stems are round and the grass fills in the gaps. So things like alstroemeria are quite good for filling in the gaps as well. So you keep going. I want to do it really quickly. It won't work if I do it quickly, will it? So this is the technique which we do everything. Everything is done with this technique. As you notice, as it gets fatter, I've moved it back into my thumb, back towards my thumb. So I'm making a hole now with my fingers. And the trick is not to actually grab it too tightly, just to be quite brave, not worry. And that's where you get this lovely angle. So that's how you can get your circle. So this is how we would make a hand-tied bridal bouquet, all those kind of things. So I want to get on to I know I'm going to miss out so much. So, but I'm doing the important bits. So if you know how to spiral, and you can get some bare grass, I think you can make anything look pretty. I wasn't going to mention this, but my dad, very kindly, he works in supermarketing. He got me as far as Waitrose head office to be the named florist, and to design their flower sheets and what have you. And then, what possessed me? I got married and moved to Scotland. So my lesson is to myself, it takes 20 minutes to get married, and it took me about 10 years to get unmarried, but never mind. We're through it now. Louise, who's here, she's got quite a famous quote, and she says, "Oh, Max Clifford needs you, Emma," with your divorce story and your leaving home with a travel cot and 5 pans. I'm sure it wasn't quite that bad. I don't know what I needed the pans for anyway. So I'm just going to keep going. It's all white. I've only got 2 types of flowers in here. And I'm moving it down now as quickly as I can. And this is why you use your spiral, because if you're good at it and your stems are clean, you can pull your flowers out, have a look, have a think about where you want them to go, and put them back in. And you can only do that if your spiral's pretty perfect and your stems are clear. So if we chop this off, 2/3, 1/3. That's where 1/3 being the bottom in my case. Anyway. You see? And you can, if you think it's a bit tall, you can take it down, which I probably will actually. Now, because you've spiraled it, if you were to put it into what we call an aqua pack, it will actually stand up like a wigwam. And that's how you know you've done it properly, because it's all about balance. You can feel it in your hand. So what I would do if I was having a dinner party is probably do 3 of those down the table. 1, 2, 3. Now. Oh, I don't feel I deserve that, but anyway. These are wonderful, just on your supermarket flower theme again. Says you can take them back if they don't last 10 days. You can't do that with the flower wholesaler, sadly. £6 from Sainsbury's. These are ilex berries, which is part of the holly family. The holly family is one of the largest. Let's go very, very, very quickly. I think I made enough mess. The one person who isn't here today is my cleaner, who actually runs my life. She doesn't just clean, she does flowers, she paints the house. Coke bottles. Have you noticed I've got 3 of them again? So when I left home, I think the first year, I did actually, my Christmas tree was just ilex berries on their own. So these actually look pretty cool just on their own. So you could fill your mantelpiece with those. So just keep going on their own. Lilies the same. You could put your lilies in because you haven't used them. So that would be the other tip, is to immediately separate your flowers. So if there's a bunch like this is going to be, I want to do so much more. I'm started now. These are, if you put them into the vase, they are spiraled, which is fine, but you're not going to see really the maximum potential of your flowers because they're still quite straight. So you need to spiral them a bit more, which is really quite hard. And the supermarkets make it hard deliberately because then you feel a little bit inadequate and go and buy yourself another bunch. And it is slightly easier with 2 bunches rather than 1, because they actually give you quite strange, like 1 stem of rhododendron. And you've got nice things, but it's just, why haven't you got 3? Look, that's quite fun, the helicopter grass. Anyway, so what I'm basically telling you there is beautiful bunch of flowers, but it is actually quite hard. So don't feel inadequate. Just go and buy 2, and it gives you this a lot easier. Oh, when you get really clever at hand tying, you can start to. I've bought these from the wholesaler, and I've had them 10 days. So, having a flower shop in Oxford, once a year, the ladies in the massive houses on Boars Hill used to come down the hill and buy 10 Casablanca lilies. You can't actually buy Casablanca lilies anymore. They don't make, well, they do, but they're so expensive they don't sell them. these are probably my favourite Christmas flower, the deep red amaryllis. Again, I've had these 10 days. These are hard work because the tubes are hollow. And I haven't brought the bits and pieces here today to actually do it, but what you can do is fill them with water and put cotton wool in the end, and that will keep them upright, or put a cane in the middle, because when you hand tie them or do anything like that, they actually squash and they can get quite damaged. So this is kind of a bit like, Now, these are the ilex berries that you buy. So these can be up to £6 a stem, but they will last you months. And the amaryllis are probably £6 a stem. So my ladies used to come down, they would buy a box, 10 ilex, 10 lilies, and a box of amaryllis, and then they'd go back and use all the foliage and greenery from their house. They actually smell horrible. These say that they've been improved by star anise, but they actually smell like they've been in curry powder. However, these are great. You can use these with everything. And when you're choosing them, choose the ones with the most twiggy bits, not the straight bits. So you can cut the twiggy bits and put them into things, and I can use them for hand tying. We use a lot of these. These were £4 in Sainsbury's, but they're £3 in Lidl. I didn't go to Aldi, but I do know the prices in Mo. Have I already? I'm hungry, so maybe I'll hurry up. So. So the lilies sometimes, these days, not as strong as they used to be. Needs a bit of propping up, so you kind of weave them in. Because as the flower heads open, they get a bit bendy. So I'm kind of weaving those in. This is probably one of the most, this is what we have done year in, year out, ilex white lilies. And if you were to get these fresh on Christmas Eve, they would still easily be going in the middle of January. In fact, there's another flower called Star of Bethlehem, Chinchirinchi, and my house was so cold that it was still going in March. It is quite cold. Isn't it, Lorena? My bookkeeper's here. She doesn't take her coat off. So, this is kind of like showing off hand tying. But I've got to get my amaryllis in, which is really hard. So, because I forgot. So I'm not as clever as I thought. So this is where you need really big hands. Will it work? I'm going to tape it. I've only got little hands. It's very silly. Right. So you can cut these with scissors if you're quite strong, which I am. And then we have massive, massive leaves that I was going to put at the bottom. So, because I haven't prepared my amaryllis properly, I'm in trouble. It's not too bad. it's very heavy now. I'm layering them round, so in a way they're going to protect my amaryllis. I want to move on to the next thing. All florists use their teeth for everything. It's like you need an extra pair of hands. I don't know why I started this. It wasn't my intention, actually. So, if you've got a tall vase, you'd be able to put that straight into your vase. I can raffle that later. So that's the intention. And when you get good at it, you can actually almost hand tie pedestal arrangements for churches and things like that, which I have done. So this will be in the raffle later. It will be finished and in the raffle.